Welcome to the Advocate for Schools podcast, a quick need-to-know breakdown of Alabama education legislation. The Alabama legislature adjourned Sine on Thursday. The 2026 regular session is officially over and out. This episode is your complete wrap-up of everything that happened in the final days and what it means for your school system going forward. Let's start with the good news. The House concurred with the Senate's changes to the FY27 Education Trust Fund budget package on Tuesday, and the full budget was sent to the governor without issue. That includes the $10.4 billion ETF budget, the supplementals, and the 2% educator pay raise with the TRS retiree longevity bonus. The budget is done. From there, lawmakers spent the final 3 days in a sprint, pushing through a flurry of bills before gaveling out Thursday. The one exception was the Senate, which slowed significantly on the last day over controversial election-related issues, ultimately passing just a few bills on the final day of session. Now here's an important note about timing. All bills passed on the final day of session are now in the governor's hands. She has until April 18th to sign them into law or let them die through inaction, what's called a pocket veto. And because the session has ended, lawmakers have no ability to override a veto. So, the governor holds significant power over everything that passed in these final days. Earlier this session, we told you that 57 bills had been filed that would reduce ETF revenues. Here's the final count. Of all those proposals, 12 made it to final passage, but their combined annual cost to the Education Trust Fund is more than $106 million every year. The biggest hit is House Bill 527, which creates a new overtime income tax deduction of up to $1,000 per taxpayer and adds a new 60-day state grocery sales tax holiday from May 1st through June 30th. Together, that bill alone will cost the ETF an estimated $83.4 million annually. The second is House Bill 517, the TRAIN Act, which creates a $10 million annual tax credit for businesses and community development foundations that partner with schools for career and technical education instruction. These are now law. The impact on education funding will be felt for years to come. Now, for a win worth celebrating. One of AASB's top priority bills made it across the finish line in the final days. Senate Bill 272, sponsored by Senate Finance and Taxation Education Chair Senator Arthur Orr, will protect public records requested from local school boards from being misused for wire fraud or solicitation. Here's what it does. It allows any public entity to redact sensitive personal information from records requests when that information could be used to fraudulently initiate a financial transaction. It also allows school boards to require requesters to certify in writing that records won't be used for solicitation or resale. Violations carry penalties of up to $500 per incident, enforced by the Attorney General. AASB extends its sincere thanks to Senator Orr and Representative Francis Holk Jones for carrying this bill. This is a direct, practical protection for your school system. A significant number of education-related bills are now awaiting the governor's signature. Here are the highlights your board needs to know about. Campus chaplains. After 3 previous attempts, this bill finally passed. It would authorize local boards to vote on whether to allow volunteer chaplains in schools. Computer science courses would require all public school students to complete an approved computer science course, beginning with the graduating class of 2032. Pledge and prayer. If signed, this constitutional amendment would go before voters and, if approved, would require local boards to adopt policies for daily voluntary pledge recitation and student-led prayer. 10 Commandments would require local boards to display the 10 Commandments in 5th through 12th grade history classrooms and common areas using private funding. Sex education would require schools that teach sex ed to use a sexual risk avoidance curriculum. Remember, sex education is not required in Alabama and parental permission is required. Sick leave donations would require the State Board of Education to establish a model policy for sick leave banks and direct leave donations between education employees, even across systems. CTE teacher certification would create an expedited certification pathway for CTE teachers relocating to Alabama. Choose Act athletic eligibility would create enforcement mechanisms for Choose Act transfer students. Conflict resolution would require students in grades 6 through 12 to receive instruction in violence prevention, conflict resolution, and mediation before graduation. Charter School Finance Authority would establish a new authority to issue bonds financing loans for charter school capital projects, and city and county BOE consolidation bills, providing processes for school board mergers and consolidations, including a constitutional amendment for county systems that would go to voters. 4 bills were signed into law before the session ended and take effect October 1st. Teams contracts. Teachers in the Teams Math and Science program may now receive contracts of up to 3 years. Retiree return to work. TRS and ERS retirees can return to work full-time as school bus drivers, school resource officers, and other law enforcement positions through December 2032 without losing retirement benefits. Given the ongoing workforce shortage in those roles, this is a meaningful tool for local boards. Teacher loan assistance. The AMSTEP program has been renamed and expanded as LUSIA, the Loan Assistance in Support of Educators in Alabama, to provide loan assistance in acute educator shortage areas. Gulf of America and religious release time were also signed into law. That's a wrap on the 2026 Alabama legislative session. It's been a busy one, from the historic $10 billion ETF budget to significant tax cuts to a long list of bills now waiting on the governor's desk. Watch for the 2026 AASB enactments publication, which will provide act numbers and summaries of every education-related bill that became law this session. And mark your calendars for Wednesday, May 6th. AASB's Governmental Relations team is hosting a free legislative session recap webinar from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Register at alabamaschoolboards.org/events. The next regular session begins February 2nd, 2027, and it will be the first session held in Alabama's newly built State House. Thank you for listening all session long. If this podcast has been useful to you, please take a moment right now, tap subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. That way, when we're back for the 2027 session, new episodes will come straight to your device automatically. No searching required. On behalf of the entire AASB team, keep advocating for Alabama's students and schools. We'll see you next session.